You ever wonder what would happen if you took karma, loaded it into a garden gnome, and let it loose on the queen of your local HOA? Because let me tell you, I built a gnome that sent my HOA president straight to the ER, and the only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. Look, if you've ever had a Karen in your neighborhood, you'll know exactly the type I'm talking about. The kind of person who thinks the world revolves around her, her little pink garden gloves, and her rules. Now, I know what you're thinking. How did it get to this point? Well, buckle up because this story isn't just about a gnome. It's about war. 6 months, 23 destroyed garden gnomes, and one woman who'd turned my life, and honestly my entire block, into her own personal hell. Let's set the scene. Tuesday morning, 6:30 a.m. Birds are chirping. The air smells like fresh grass, and I'm standing in my front yard staring at the remains of what used to be gnome number 23. His little red hat's split clean in two, his head's basically powder, and the fishing pole, snap, gone, just like the last 22. And 3 feet away, a single pink glove. She didn't even try to hide it this time. My wife, Sarah, smart woman, she'd already left for work. I think she knew I was about to lose it. Across the street, my neighbor Tom is doing his usual, peeking out the blinds, acting like he's living in some kind of witness protection program. Can't blame him, honestly. Everyone around here is scared of Karen Mitchell, HOA president, destroyer of joy, and, apparently, serial gnome murderer. I'm standing there, picking up the pieces, feeling my blood pressure hit new records, and for a second I consider it. Should I move? Just pack up and let her have the block? Or maybe, just maybe, it's time someone made Karen regret ever moving onto Maple Street. And that's what happens. I hear her. That voice. Shrill, smug, like nails on a chalkboard dipped in cheap perfume. She comes power walking by in her designer tracksuit that probably cost more than my mortgage, hair yanked back so tight it looks painful, and she stops, right in front of me. Oh my, another accident. You really should secure those tacky little things better. They seem so fragile. She flashes me this grin, like she didn't just confess to a half-year crime spree, then just keeps on walking. Like I'm nothing. Like the last 6 months were a big joke, and I'm the punchline. If you've never met a Karen, here's what you need to know. She'd been running this HOA like a dictator for 4 years. Violation notices for grass being a quarter-inch too tall, fines for leaving Christmas lights up past January 2nd, even try to ban my neighbor's therapy dog for ruining the streetscape. Meanwhile, her place is the biggest eyesore on the block, some ugly glass and steel cubes stuck between a row of colonials. But of course, the rules don't apply to her. And her husband? Never around. Probably off somewhere inventing new excuses not to come home. But the real war started the day I beat her for the neighborhood garden contest. She poured thousands into her rose garden, and I won with a bunch of $15 gnomes I picked up on sale. I'll never forget her face when they handed me that blue ribbon. It was like she'd bitten into a lemon covered in barbed wire. The next morning, 3 gnomes smashed. Caught her red-handed on my Ring camera. 2 in the morning, all black, cricket bat in hand, swinging like a major leaguer, smiling right at the camera. I brought that video to the cops. You know what they said? It's an HOA matter, sir. You'll have to take it up with them. The HOA? She's the HOA. I went to the next board meeting, showed the video to the other members. 4 grown adults who nodded along while she read the rules back to me. No decorations over 12 inches or displaying non-traditional garden themes. My gnomes? 13 inches. The rest of them just nodded, eyes glazed over, and I realized I was on my own. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I bought more gnomes. Bigger ones. 14 inches just to push it. Arranged them like a little gnome army. And Karen? She escalated. Started smashing them in broad daylight, staring me in the eyes while she did it. My wife told me to let it go. They're just gnomes, she said. But it wasn't about the gnomes anymore. It was about principle. I was fighting for my right to exist on my own property for a little bit of happiness that didn't fit her plastic-perfect world. Each gnome had a personality, you know? There was Fred with his fishing pole, Rachel reading a book, Gary with his little gardening trowel. She killed them all one by one, and it was starting to feel personal, like I was living in a real-life horror movie. Then one day at Home Depot, buying, you guessed it, More gnomes. I overheard two women talking. Did you hear about Karen's restraining order? One asked. Which one? The other laughed. She's got 3. The woman's insane. I played it cool, eavesdropped a little more. Turns out, Karen had terrorized other neighborhoods before ours. Poisoned hydrangeas, threatened neighbors, always managed to slip away thanks to her lawyer husband. That was the twist. This wasn't just a mean neighbor. She was a serial menace, a professional at making people's lives miserable and then skipping town. I tried to dig up more dirt, but everything was sealed, wiped away with NDAs and settlements. The husband, it turned out, wasn't just traveling. He was a corporate lawyer who cleaned up Karen's messes for a living. That night, staring at my pile of gnome corpses in the garage, I snapped. If the system wasn't going to stop her, maybe I could. So I started building. I spent 3 weeks designing the ultimate trap. A 15-inch gnome, hollowed out, loaded with a spring mechanism and a reinforced fishing pole. The genius part? A pressure sensor in the base. Hit it hard enough, say, with a cricket bat, and that fishing pole would fire straight up, fast as a pro boxer's jab. I tested it 17 times in my garage, tweaked the angle, got the force just right. I painted him perfect, red hat, blue coat, extra detail. Set him out in the front yard, prime real estate for a Karen attack. That night, I barely slept, watching the Ring camera, waiting. 6:15 a.m., right on schedule. She was power walking in her neon pink tracksuit. She spotted the new gnome, slowed down, looked around. I was behind the curtain, phone in hand, heart thumping like crazy. She walked right up, pulled out that cricket bat, with pink grip tape of course, and raised it over her head, grinning like she was about to win the lottery. She swung hard. Crack. For a split second, nothing. Then, bam! The fishing pole launched upward, caught her under the chin with a sound I'll never forget, like a baseball bat hitting a melon. Karen dropped the bat, stumbled, blood gushing from her mouth, and went down like a sack of bricks on my lawn, howling. Part of me was screaming, "Call 911, you psycho." But another part, the part that had picked up 23 broken gnomes, thought, she asked for this. This is karma. Next thing I know, Tom comes running out, phone in hand, calling 911. I know I have about 5 minutes before the cops arrive. I look at the final gnome, still standing, fishing pole back in place, just a tiny crack in the ceramic. Neighbors start gathering. Mrs. Chun, the Rodriguez family, all staring. Sirens in the distance. The ambulance pulls up, the cops roll in, and Karen's yelling from the stretcher, "He booby-trapped it. Arrest him." The paramedics are talking about a fractured jaw, facial lacerations. I feel sick. I mean, I wanted revenge, not a felony. Officer Martinez, a familiar face, asks, "Sir, your neighbor claims you assaulted her with a booby-trapped lawn ornament. Is that true?" My brain's screaming, "Lawyer up," but before I can say anything, Tom steps up. Tom, who's barely spoken to me in 3 years. "I saw the whole thing," he says. "Karen's been destroying this man's property for months. I have videos, dozens, and she's done this in other neighborhoods too. I have proof." My jaw drops. Tom, quiet Tom, has been running a secret surveillance operation. He hands his phone to Officer Martinez, folders and folders of videos. Karen, still bleeding, screams from the ambulance. Don't listen to him. They're in it together. But the neighbors start chiming in. Mrs. Chun, Mr. Rodriguez. Everyone has videos, stories, evidence. It was like a dam breaking. For months, we'd all been suffering in silence, waiting for someone else to step up. Suddenly, everyone had receipts. The officers taking down names, collecting evidence, and Karen's being loaded into the ambulance, screeching about her rights, her lawyer, her innocence. And just when I think I'm doomed, Tom, God bless Tom, leads Officer Martinez over to the gnome, points out the bat marks, the path Karen took on my property. This was intentional destruction while trespassing. He says, "Cool as you like." The officer nods, starts taking pictures. Says, "I'm taking the gnome as evidence. Depending on what we find, charges may or may not be filed." He loads the gnome into his trunk. As soon as the patrol car rounds the corner, the neighborhood explodes with conversation. Turns out Karen's been a one-woman reign of terror, reporting Mrs. Chin's grandson's car is abandoned, trying to ban the Rodriguez's Virgin Mary statue, writing Tom up for his trash cans. I was just the loudest victim. Then Tom pulls me aside. I'm a private investigator, he says. I've been tracking Karen since Riverside, same pattern. I needed her to escalate, needed airtight evidence. Your gnome was just a cherry on top. I don't know whether to laugh or punch him, but I respect it. The man plays chess while the rest of us are playing checkers. Sarah gets home, and when I tell her the whole story, she's half horrified, half impressed. Derek, you build a booby trap. That's illegal. I shrug. Yeah, but at least people are paying attention now. She sighs, grabs her laptop, and starts researching defense strategies. Good thing you married a paralegal, she says. I never loved her more. Then my phone rings. Unknown number. Mr. Morrison, this is Brad Mitchell. We need to talk. I'm expecting threats, lawsuits, the works. But he sounds tired. I know about Karen's behavior. I'm exhausted, Mr. Morrison. So here's the deal. She won't press charges. I'll make the police investigation go away. If you and the neighbors drop any charges, let us move quietly in 60 days. Everyone walks away. I consider it. Part of me wants to say yes. Just let it end. But Tom's words echo in my head. If you let her walk, she'll just do it somewhere else. That's what these people do. They move on, start over, and ruin more lives. That night, I stare at the empty space where the final gnome stood and realize it was never about the gnomes. It was about power, about not letting someone like Karen win. Next morning, I call Brad. No deal, I say. I'm not stopping the neighbors. If the police want to charge me, fine, but I'm done letting your wife terrorize people without consequences. He's silent for a long time, then says, honestly, part of me's glad someone finally stood up to her, even if it was with a weaponized lawn ornament. News spreads fast. Texts start pouring in from the neighbors. Mrs. Chun, Mr. Rodriguez, Tom, all standing with me. Sarah's already lined up a lawyer. I head down to the station with Tom's evidence, give my statement, show the videos. Officer Martinez listens, nods. Mr. Morrison, you didn't start this. You exposed it. In the end, Karen faces charges for property destruction, harassment, trespassing, and, thanks to Tom, felony embezzlement. The HOA board votes her out. Her lawsuit goes nowhere. The judge calls the gnome incident provoked negligence. She pays restitution for every gnome, every dollar stolen, and gets barred from ever serving on another HOA. When I walk back onto Maple Street, it's like a cloud's lifted. Kids are riding bikes. Neighbors are talking again. And for the first time, this place feels like home. 6 months ago, I was ready to run. Now, I'm the reason it ended. Funny, isn't it, how sometimes it just takes one person, one ridiculous ceramic gnome, to remind a whole community they deserve better? The real lesson? Sometimes you have to push back, even if you have to get a little weird about it. Sometimes karma just needs a little engineering. But here's my question for you. When is it okay to fight back? Where's the line between justice and revenge? Have you ever had a Karen in your life? And what did you do about it? Drop your stories in the comments. I want to know where you stand on karma, HOA nightmares, and what you'd do if it happened to you. Let's hear it.